Mike Nitt, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Any other kind of thoughts after rewatching the tape from Nebraska, kind of about just the game and kind of what went wrong?
Well, if you watched the same game I did, the turnovers was the biggest problem. I mean, they had 27 points off of turnovers, and it's going to be hard to beat anybody doing that. We hadn't done that a lot since I've been here, but that was quite a few, and we was kind of out of sync. I think, X coming back, trying to fit him back in there. He was kind of out of rhythm in terms of throwing the ball all over the gym. He had about 4 himself. So these are things that's got to be corrected. We can't play anybody in the Big Ten and give up 27 points on turnovers. That's tough to overcome.
Alex and Tom Brew.
Thanks for the time. Appreciate it. I'm just curious on the 3-point defense. I know some of it obviously is guys making tough shots, but is there anything you can do differently to make teams more uncomfortable maybe from getting shots on the perimeter and defensively, or is that just kind of something you live with, giving up some threes?
Well, we ain't trying to give up anything. I mean, the threes that they made, I thought half of them was some tough ones. The little guard, he made about 3 of them that were really deep threes. I recall the one where Malik switched out and then Malik left him and he just pulled up and made it. We're playing teams that are making threes, and we got to do a better job. And when we up and touching and making players feel us a little bit, we're pretty good in guarding the 3-point line. But when we're late on switches and not really communicating, because that's been a big problem with this team this season, we're getting burned on threes. So we just got to keep working through it, and being a lot tougher than our opponent in terms of trying to take threes away, because it has been a problem for us this season.
Like
Tom and then Seth.
Yeah, I could just kind of follow up with that a little bit further. One of the things in kind of rewatching the last 4 games, 48 threes given up in the last 4 games, it seems like there's like the Weakside guys that kind of like drift into the lane when the ball gets reversed, or having a hard time getting back to the corner or back to the wings. Is that just execution thing, or is it more philosophical where they're just maybe just drifting too far away from their shooters, or do they need to stay more engaged with those shooters on the weak side?
Well, it's a number of guys that are doing this, mainly our younger guys, in terms of being in to get out. And, the last 2 years here, we had some veteran guys that were pretty good at doing that. And we just got to keep working with them. We know it works. And it's been a struggle this year because guys are not catching on quickly as I thought they would. But hey, the only way you get through it is you got to keep working, and hopefully something clicks, and then we're back to defending the 3. And we defend the 2 pretty well, but the 3's kind of been out of whack. It's not been the same as it's been the last 2 years, so we got to just keep working at it.
Seth and Mason.
Mike, getting X back the other night, just how difficult was the last month plus of rehab for him? Obviously, he went through that whole injury last year, and I'm sure there was kind of some extra frustration. Could that maybe have helped him at all? Just kind of know, this is what rehab is going to look like, and this is what I need to do. Just what's the last month been like for him getting back to the court?
Well, it's been tough. Xavier hadn't really played much basketball. When you go back to last season and missing the 7 games I think he missed this season so far, it's been tough on him. And, we sit and watch him play. A few days he got a chance to practice, and, the speed is still there, but the conditioning and just the gameplay, that you would play every day when you're in practice, it's just not there. So, I went into the game the other night knowing that he wasn't going to play a lot of minutes because we couldn't play him a lot of minutes. Hadn't played much in practice. And he wasn't real happy about that. Hell, he played 14, I think, minutes, but it was an awful 14 minutes. And, I kind of shared that with him yesterday. I mean, because, hey, he was trying to do too much in the short period of time that he played, and he just got to let it come to him and relax and play.
Mason, then Todd.
Coach, thanks for your time. I'm curious. I know a lot of different coaches have different philosophies about this kind of stuff, but when you have a game and kind of a quick turnaround like this, how much of your time during practice is spent on self-scout and correcting mistakes from the previous game versus trying to prepare for another opponent?
That game won't ever go unnoticed. Every game we play, win or lose, you learn from it. And, we spend a lot of time watching the Nebraska game because that's how it should be. You just can't overlook it. Hell, it was a good ass whooping. And you try to correct the things that you can correct, and then you go out on the floor and you go to work and get ready for the next opponent and try to clean up the things that happened in the game that you didn't play too particularly well.
Todd, then Jack.
Hey, Mike. Malik Renew, no matter what measure you use to measure it, has been vastly improved as a passer this year. His assist totals are way up. He's always probably had that in him. What did you guys do to develop that part of his game to play at this, to be effective at this level? And also, how does he kind of calibrate, pass first, score first? I know the defense probably dictates a lot of that, but how does that kind of work for Malik?
Well, I think you watched him last season being a freshman. You could see signs of it. He just couldn't stay on the floor because defensively, wasn't moving his feet, or he grabbed someone that on a cut, or, he pick up senseless fouls and wouldn't allow him to play. And I thought this summer he spent a lot of time in Bloomington, working on his body and his game, and because all the fundamental tools are there for Malik. I mean, we knew that when we was lucky to get him, on the back end of his recruiting trail. And he's grown, man. I mean, you're starting to see some of that now. And a lot of it is because he's mentally a little more mature than he was a year ago, and he's figured out how to stay on the floor somewhat this year versus sitting next to us over there on the bench. And in doing that, he's doing a lot of good things for us on the basketball floor, which is kind of nice to see.
Jack, then Daniel.
And Mike, with the turnovers from the Nebraska game and even some of the previous games, what's kind of been your message to the team and maybe the focus in practice to try to eliminate some of those?
Well, we've never really been a big turnover team since I've been here. And, when you have games like that, your antennas has got to go up because you're not going to beat anybody in the Big Ten turning it over like that. And, guys don't go out to just turn it over. I just thought, I thought the game early on was back and forth, but we had no defensive presence because they were scoring pretty easily, I thought. And we were too. And then, our aggressiveness to try to score put us in a lot of bad positions. I mean, it ain't like we hadn't played teams that put two on the ball. Normally we've been pretty good in that area in terms of getting the ball out of there and that next guy making the play. But hell, we were throwing the ball all over the gym. We didn't give ourselves a chance.
All right, Daniel, then we'll wrap with Mike Schumann.
Yeah, Coach. On the topic of rotations, it seemed like Leo was kind of ahead of CJ, at least in Lincoln. Is that something that was more the way that Nebraska plays, or is that something that you feel like may continue moving forward?
Don't know. That could change. Anything can change with our ball club. I just thought the last week and a half, Anthony had really been playing well, and it showed on the floor. in our last few ball games. And, you know, I base a lot of things on practice. You know, if I feel like you're not giving it to me, and I've tried guys, everybody's had an opportunity to play. But I just think now coming down the stretch, you know, I might shorten the rotation. You know, it's all about feel and based on who's doing what. But it starts in practice. If I feel like you're not, you know, practicing and working hard to deserve playing time, then you won't play.
Mike, last one.
Yeah. Hey, coach. When you first took this job, you talked a lot about kind of on the ball defense being kind of the foundation and you know, really being important to your program. How do you assess what you're getting on the ball this year, and how is that impacting maybe the 3-point shooting that you're seeing against you?
We've struggled in that area. You know, Gabe has really been the only one on ball defense has been really good for us, I think. You know, not having X out there because we considered him, you know, the last 2 years kind of the head of the snake in terms of initiating our defense up front. But I'm not getting it in the wing area right now. And, you know, and that's pivotal in college basketball. You know, the 2s and the 3s are guys that make basketball plays, and we haven't been really good in that area. And that's something that we really try to work on. But we got to get better. You know, I mean, you know, it was obvious, you know, in the game the other night, their guard play was much better than our guard play, and that can't be. And, you know, we haven't had very many games like that, but the big games, we've got outplayed out front in the guard spot, and that's something that's got to change. We got to keep working, try to not let that happen.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Mike.